All right, check it out. My new farm toy.
Now would be a great time to subscribe to the channel.
Now I call this my farm toy because I am not buying this expecting it to be a super high quality excavator, because it was like 20% of the cost of an excavator, probably comparable to it, maybe 25%. Doesn't look like you can get into a decent name brand excavator of this size until you hit $25,000, $30,000. This is an AGT Industrial, is what they've branded it. Probably goes by different names, but it's an H15 model. It's a 15 horsepower Rado, I think the way you say it, engine. And I've looked into that. Some of these will come with like a Briggs & Stratton. You can even get some of these with like a diesel Kubota engine. Of course, all that adds price. The Briggs & Stratton, I think, is the cheaper version. The engine that's in here now is basically the company that makes all the knockoff Honda engines. You'll find them in like go-karts and stuff. Predator. You probably have heard that one from Harbor Freight. From my understanding, from what I've read, the Predator engines are made by this company. So it's basically a 420cc Predator engine in there. Why did I get this? I've seen these before. There was a bunch of buzz about these last year, and I kind of waited to see what was going on with these. Completely forgot about them. Then I started looking for a trencher for my skid steer. And when I started doing that, I'm looking $3,000 to $4,000 for a trencher, and really it's just going to trench a 4 to 6 inch long trench. This, I know I have a backhoe, but this one will do more than that. It will trench, probably not as fast, but it will trench, and it will let me do a lot of other things. Like when we move to the land, we plan on planting a lot of trees. So now I have something that's going to help me dig holes for trees, and not all of those trees are going to fit in your 12-inch auger hole or whatever. Then there's things like using it for a little grapple. I did buy some attachments also with this. But my plan on this is to play around with it, see the goods and bads. The reviews on these things, if you take care of them and treat them for what they are, haven't been bad. I mean, most of the stuff here is easily replaceable. That's one of the reasons I pulled the trigger and bought one of these, is because you've got a lawnmower engine that you can replace at Harbor Freight or online or Amazon, whatever. You've got 2 hydraulic pumps that are also easily replaceable, used in many different things. This one has 2 hydraulic pumps, not all of them. This is what they would consider a 1.5 ton. They have the smaller ones. They'll have a number on the bottom down here that is, say, like 08. So that's like a 0.8 ton, I guess is the way they call it. Or they may be going by how many horsepower the engine is. Then you've got your 10s and your 12s, 13s, 14s, Those all come down into play on if they wanted to call it that because of the engine horsepower, or if they wanted to call it that because of the tonnage. This one is 15 horsepower, supposedly, at wide open on the engine. So it's a 15 because it's really not a 1.5 ton, although people are saying that when they try to sell them. They're saying, hey, this is a 1.5 ton. It's like 2,400 pounds, so it's like 1.2 tons. That is not the tonnage, although this one is not a base model per se of these. Most of the ones you're going to find are the 08s, the 12s, the 10s. Those are what people mostly call the 1 tons, and those are the ones you see everybody trying to get for around $5,000. Now, I'll talk about that a little later too, maybe in another video about buying these, because things have changed since last year on these. But this video is really just introducing this to the farm. I have played with it a little bit, as you can see by the dirt on the bucket. It does not have the standard SAE or US type controls like my backhoe has. So it is really frustrating to try to relearn these controls. Now, I'm probably going to go in there and swap the hydraulic lines around and make this exactly like my backhoe, so I don't have to have 2 patterns in my head. But it is what it is. This is what you're going to get when you first get these. You do what you want to do. Now, I did buy this one more for the pilot controls. If you notice, the controls are right there by the seat instead of in front with the drive sticks. This one has the drive sticks here in the front. It's got 2 pedals down here. One of these, this one here, controls the blade, which normally would be driven around in the front, but I put it in the back because I'm fixing to use it. The blade goes up and down, and then the other pedal over there is for the auxiliary hydraulics. This one's already plumbed for auxiliary right here, but there's like no quick connects or anything like that. probably because most of the attachments they think you're going to just leave on here. I'm not. I'm going to put quick connects on this, and I'm going to make it where I can add the hydraulic thumb real easy, the hydraulic auger, all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to make it work like that because from what I've seen, it does a decent job. But the big thing, the one thing that really pushed me into buying this one over the standard, $5,000 package that everybody's trying to get into is the pilot controls. I do not like having all the controls up here. Fine, the sticks to move it are there. Pedals are completely fine, but I wanted my handles here because I don't like working hunched over. Now, some of the really tiny machines have the controls so close you're not really hunched over, but then it's also too compact and uncomfortable. So this is why I bought this one. It also has a lot of room for switches and stuff if I want to install them, adding different things to it. It came with counterweights because that's one of the things you need for these is some weight. There are some big metal, I don't know if you can see them through the thing here, but there's big chunks of metal in there that they just added as counterweights in there. And little things like that this one had. So that's mainly why I went with this one. Even a 1 ton, I mean, they're going to have about the same reach and everything. Functionality is going to be about the same. You're just going to have a little bit more compact machine. This one has a lot more room inside of here. There's a lot of different little upgrades that I plan on putting in this one to keep it nice and cool. Fans, hydraulic cooler, stuff that it doesn't have. It also came with this tools box. So that is really cool because if this was just a toolbox, then that's just one tool. But this is a tools box. So not only does the box handle more than one tool, it actually did come with more than one tool. So it is a tools box. We open this up and it came with, I guess, your first filter change. So there's a filter. It also had a spark plug tool, and you could use it as a wrench probably too, or socket. It came with this L-shaped handle socket thing, which has a socket piece on each end. It came with 3 sockets. See, this is a 12 millimeter, this one's 16 millimeter, and this one is 14 millimeter. I'm assuming those are all needed. Then the wrench is 17 millimeter and 19 millimeter. Then you get a fancy Phillips head screwdriver. And for manuals, you get a manual about the engine. And then I've already looked at these. I'm not going to waste time on it. These are carb for California. But I'm in Texas and we can actually run these. And look at this. It comes with a spark plug too. Probably not the greatest, but if you need one and you ran out, here it is. It even comes with a grease gun. Little bitty handheld grease gun. Probably works. I don't know. I haven't tried it. This metal bar goes to the spark plug tool. And here's the thing with the grease gun. It has a grease needle. It doesn't actually have a grease connector for fittings. Now, it does have grease fittings on there. But if I find a place where it has grease needles, if they're replaceable, I'll put a regular one on it. But if not, I guess I'll keep this around to fill those. Grease needles are good to have either way. If you don't already have a grease needle, this gives you one. I've got a couple, like a little set that I bought because they're just useful for putting grease anywhere. But yeah, that's it. That's everything that's in the tools box. So you can add some more. I'm planning on buying me, to match all the other cheap tools, I'm going to put me a cheap crescent wrench in there. And I think I'm also going to put me a few cheap wrenches because I've already found that this toolbox does not cover everything you need. Of course, not, the major things, but I mean, even just taking off panels, this doesn't have all of the sockets and everything you're going to need. So I'd probably use this to build it. Probably going to get rid of this nifty tools box or use it for something else because I'm probably going to build one on the actual machine itself so that way I can keep all of these tools, probably not the grease gun, but stuff with the machine. And when it comes to these mini excavators, adding weight to it is better, not worse. So, all right, that's the tools box. Let me get this trench dug, get some video of that, and then, like I said, subscribe, like the video, do all of that because you're going to see a lot more videos on this, especially if you're interested in getting one. I'm going to try to tell you everything that I've went through, read, figured out along the way on how to get these and how to make them useful for you. All right, let's get to digging. All right, so I've got maybe 2 hours on this now. I was able to trench that over there where I'm putting in another septic line from our tiny home into the septic. And I've got to say, I'm pretty impressed. The big complaint I have right now is that it is not the same kind of controls that my backhoe is. So I'm definitely going to have to go in there and switch hydraulic lines around and get it to have the same pattern as my backhoe, because that drove me crazy. And as you can see in some of the sped up video before, I was just having a hard time getting that pattern down. So I don't want to have to memorize two patterns. I'm going to switch it. So if you've never used backhoes, or if you haven't in a really long time and you don't do excavators or anything like that, and you're getting one of these, this pattern may not bother you one bit. It'll be one pattern you need to learn. But the fact of having a backhoe, I've used excavators before. I mean, yeah, it's throwing me off pretty bad. But machine-wise, man, I was actually pretty impressed, what a 15 horsepower motor can do. A lot of the time, I didn't have to even have it revved up high, and that's just because I didn't want it really loud. It is a little loud. You might want to wear earplugs because it's like a loud lawnmower. So it does have a little bit of volume to it, but man, I was really impressed with it. So I think I've got a lot of cool things I want to do to this, and it's probably going to stick around the farm for quite some time. Unless it's a gateway drug into a bigger excavator. I don't know. I've been pretty happy with my backhoe, but man, getting this thing, I could see it working itself into a much bigger machine, but we'll see. Anyways, I am pretty happy with it right now, and there's going to be a lot more videos of this coming, so please subscribe to the channel, like the video. Anything you know about these, if you have an H15, or even if you have one of these little Chinese excavators, any comments you have, please put them down below. Let us know what you think. All right, thank y'all very much. Take care.